everybody, welcome to the New York Encounter that this year comes in your place, wherever you live. Now with Marissa, we are in Los Angeles. Hi Marissa,
Hi, Lisa.
thank you for being with us. So today we're gonna know each other a little bit more. Um, let's just start telling us a bit more about you, what's your job, what you do.
Sure. So I live in Los Angeles and I work at a nonprofit that's dedicated to global engagement here in Los Angeles. It's called the Pacific Council, and I run their communications and their events. So I'm very familiar with virtual events at this point.
Wow, that's amazing. Like this has been like a real challenging period, really challenging period for all of us. Could you tell us like maybe what did you live? What was the biggest challenge for you in your job and also like in your private life?
Sure. I mean, yes, I've absolutely experienced the challenges that everyone else has, I think, in just feeling isolated and restless, stuck at home, disappointed that things couldn't happen. A huge disappointment that I have faced was that I was supposed to get married in April 2020, and we postponed to the summer thinking we could have it then. And then that, of course, wasn't a reality. So we had to postpone again to March of 2021, which is around the corner here, and had to make the hard decision recently to postpone the wedding, I should say the reception, indefinitely. I'm so grateful that my husband now and I decided to say our vows and get married in September of 2020 in front of a very small group of people. Sadly, our parents couldn't be there and they watched on Zoom. But looking back on that moment where we were able to, be joined as man and wife, I think it was a moment that I was most present in the entire year of 2020 and the entire pandemic, because it's just everything else in the world fell away. It was just us, being bound together in that way. And it was just a very true and real moment, even though all of the extra things that you want to have at your wedding were not there. So that was a big challenge, but one that ended up bearing a lot of fruit in my life, I would say, in my personal life. And then work has been hard. I got a new boss while while we were in lockdown, and trying to just connect with team members over Zoom. We're all exhausted from Zoom. Trying to keep team morale high has been a challenge. Trying to bring in my organization, we used to do all of these in-person events and conferences at hotels and things, and trying to bring all of that to a virtual platform, as I'm sure all of you working on the New York Encounter can attest, has been a big challenge to try to keep people engaged and interested in the content and make it a similar experience.
Wow, this is impressive. I have two questions, one related to your wedding and one related to your job. So I will start from the one related to your job. You said we wanted to keep it all together. We wanted to be able to connect with others. Did you find like new ways of connecting with others? Things that you think or that you learned and that you will keep even after, maybe?
I think the basic act of slowing down and asking a colleague, how are you, has become a lot more of a habit in my life now, because from everything that happened in 2020, I know that at any given moment, I have four direct reports. At any moment, any of them could be feeling really awful about things in the world. And so instead of just jumping right into the workday and starting to message each other and sending out the emails, I've really tried to stop and say, how are you? And listen to the response, and be there as a friend, and not just a boss or a colleague, or not even a friend, but like a human, right? A human being caring about their being.
And I think a lot of people can relate to it. Me myself, the first month of the pandemic, there were these calls that was like super intense project. There were these calls always starting, Elizabeth, how are you? Like, how are you? Like, what's happening? How are you? And and like it was so personal. I mean, the first time the job started to be connected with my life in this way, people really were interested to you as human beings, not only as colleagues.
It's amazing what it takes, I think, for us to slow down and stop and think about those things.
Thank you, Marissa. And like about your wedding, I have a question because there are a lot of people. I don't want to like. It is not a judgment to anyone. I mean, I understand them. They just say, "Well, we will get married when this whole thing will end, so that we can have in our wedding our friends as well, and we can like do these huge celebrations with our friends, as we always brand like we are like women. So since we are in prep school, we start dreaming about our like best wedding ever celebration, like
Instagram, Instagram, good,
like,
yeah.
like it's huge, like castle, like dresses, friends, hundreds of them. So like instead of waiting for all of this, you decided to get married during the pandemic. You said it a little bit already, but can you deepen like why?
Yeah, I mean, especially so things in the US shut down in mid-March last year, and we were about 6 weeks out from our wedding. Our original date was April 26, 2020. And I'll never forget getting the news alert that groups of 50 or more would not be allowed to gather. And I was like, well, that's it. The decision has been made for us that we cannot move forward as planned. In a way, that was like something outside of me, reality showing its face very clearly, like you cannot have what you thought you wanted before. And so in a way, that was a weight lifted off of my shoulder because the decision was made, right? And I didn't have to try to figure out if it would be safe to have a wedding in April 2020, which of course it wasn't going. Looking back now, we all know it would not have been. But the reason, I think I realized at that point that it was never about the party. And it was never about the dress or the flowers, even though I spent a lot of energy and money and time in the year leading up to April 2020, thinking about those things and planning those things. But at the end, it wasn't about that. It was about me and my now husband, Seth, and what we wanted, and that we wanted to be married and we wanted to, be official, if you will. And that was always the priority for both of us, and that everything else was an extra, adding beauty and adding things to it. But we knew that what was most important and most beautiful was right there at the center, and it was just totally stripped down to that, to the act of being married, to the act of being wed. And so that it really just came down to that decision that we knew that nothing else mattered as much as that.
Yeah, you mentioned before that this circumstance helped you to live the wedding itself kind of less distracted with that. So like it's impressive how the circumstance is not only a limitation but it is actually something that was kind of almost made for you, or helping you to be focused on what you were doing, the meaning of what you were doing. Is it correct?
Yeah, and even practically speaking, I mean, a normal wedding is a lot of planning and a lot of pieces to think about. And yes, you have people that are helping you with that, but I do events for work, so it is very much part of my nature to want to organize everybody and know that all the details are taken care of. So I'm certain that on the day of what should have been this big, this wedding that we had with 130 people, I would have been possibly walking down the aisle thinking about all the things that should be happening right now, right? Is the musician playing the right music? Like, is this person standing in the right place? because I can't help it. That's just sort of who I am. And on the day we got married, none of that mattered because none of that was there. And so I didn't have to be worrying about those things. I could just look at my husband and see him and really think about the weight of what we were doing and knowing, yes, like with so much certainty, yes, this is for us.
Wow, this is beautiful. Because like circumstances, you're right, sometimes circumstances help you in living what you are supposed to live more than all the images put together that you had in mind. And by obeying to circumstances, actually you're helped. So is this, I don't know, richness or like correspondence that is springing out of obedience to circumstances in a way. So
absolutely obedience to circumstances for sure.
So this is very much helpful. So it's helpful to see that even if things do not go exactly as we planned, it might be that they are for us, maybe even more than what we planned. Beautiful.
If I've learned anything this year, I think that's one of the most important lessons, because I am, I see in myself this desire, this urge to plan, a restlessness, really, right? I want to be useful. I want to contribute. I want to have projects. And this year, I haven't been able to do any of that. And I really still can't do any of that. For my personal life, we were supposed to go to Hawaii for our honeymoon, and it doesn't seem like we're going to Hawaii in 2021 either. And, I love to travel, and there are just so many things I would love that I really want to move forward with in my life. And yet I'm being asked to stand still. And that, I'm still learning how to do that. I still feel like every day I'm pushing at the bars, I just want to push against this like plastic, this glass shield that I'm up against, right? That we're all up against in wanting to move our lives forward with our plans. And I'm still pushing up against it, but maybe at a point I have to I'd recognize that that's there, and that maybe on this side of the glass, there's a lot here for me too, to learn from just the quiet, the solitude, I've started a morning prayer practice that I didn't really have time for before because I had an hour-long commute, and now I have time for that, to do it quietly at home, and I'm incredibly grateful for that time. So I have gained more than maybe I can even identify now, but I'm sure, and I'd like to think that the fruits of it will continue for years to come.
Thank you, Marissa. This is very beautiful, very useful for all of us. And see you soon.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Elisa.
Bye everybody. Bye.